Magic Man, the tennis preacher, tennis prophet, tennis psychic, and tennis pastor, coming back at you again with another video. Now people, this is a continuation of that, like I said before, the tennis prophet debating with the Nadal fans here. Now let me say something. One thing the Nadal fans had a problem with, even though I put Nadal over Pete Sampras as far as greatness was concerned, the Nadal fans, they had a problem with me saying how great Pete Sampras was because he was #1 for 6 consecutive years. And so it seemed that the Nadal fans were sort of belittling this #1 thing, being #1. But you know what? Let me just say something about that. That goes beyond Nadal fans. I want to tell y'all the history when that sort of started. Okay, first of all, let me just talk about this being #1 versus winning majors. Which one of those are the greatest? Which one of those are the hardest? Okay, first of all, both of them are very difficult to do. Okay, now, most people, I think if I brought most tennis players here, I'm talking about pro tennis players, Nadal, Federer, Djokovic, they probably going to say it's harder to become #1, and it's 2 levels of that too. You got first of all, you got to become #1, then you got to hold the #1 spot like for a few months and maybe a year. Then you got to sustain it. That's the most difficult, like Pete Sampras did for a long time. Okay, so now let's get back to this thing here. I want to tell y'all, first of all, both of those things are very high greatness achievements. I actually think personally, I think it's harder to become #1. Of course now, listen, you got to be able to handle big pressure points to win majors. That's why if you can't handle pressure points, those kind of people don't win a lot of majors or may not win any majors. But to be #1, like I said, there's 3 levels of that. You got to, first of all, become #1. Then you got to hold the #1 spot for a few months or to a year. Then you got to be able to sustain it, and that takes so much hard work. It takes consistency. It takes not getting injured. That's why if you look at even Sampras at the end of his career, he stopped focusing on being #1. He let it go and he just tried to win a few majors, then he retired. You see Federer and Nadal doing that right now. I know Nadal's #1 right now. That's because he won a couple majors. But I'm saying even Nadal and Federer, they pretty well put aside the last couple years. Nadal and Federer said, forget the #1 thing. And the reason they said that, because it takes hard work. You have to play tournament after tournament. You can't get injured. You have to be so focused. It's so much hard work. So from a hard work standpoint, the #1 spot is actually harder than winning a major. Okay, now you can determine what's most important. Of course, people want to win majors first because that's like more prestigious, but it really shouldn't be. Now, I want to tell y'all why this whole silly narrative, and it didn't come from the Nadal fans. I'm not blaming the Nadal fans for this. This is where it started from. Do all of you know Marat Safin? Marat Safin had a sister who was very good. She became #1 during the Serena era, okay? And during that time, I think Serena had lost a #1 spot. Y'all can go check on all the history of this. But Serena had lost a #1 spot or something like that. And so Marat Safin's sister was #1. But here is the deal though. Marat Safin's sister, she couldn't handle pressure. So she couldn't win a major. So Serena came back. Serena wasn't #1, but Serena won a major. I don't know if she won 2 that year, but she definitely won 1. And Serena made this comment. This is the comment Serena made. She said, well, you #1, but I'm winning the majors. Now, and from there on, tennis experts, tennis fans, they started belittling the #1 thing. This is what people should have done. They should have just said #1, being #1 or sustaining #1 is very important, but she needs to be able to win majors. But this is what people did. instead of just criticizing Marat Safin's sister for not being able, for breaking down under pressure and not experts and tennis fans, instead of writing a negative narrative about it's no big deal to be number one, they should have just criticized Marat Safin's sister for not being able to operate under pressure. She folded under pressure and couldn't win a major, but she was number one for like a year or so. So that's how this whole silly narrative, before that time, being number one was as prestigious as winning a major, or winning many majors. John McEnroe, and I'm gonna do something on John McEnroe's greatness. John McEnroe was number one for 4 consecutive years in singles and in doubles. That's really great. But I'm gonna do that in a couple weeks though. We'll have a debate about John McEnroe. People don't know how great John McEnroe was, but that's a different thing here. But yeah, so that's how that whole silly number one, that being number one doesn't mean anything, that is ridiculous. It does mean something, and it definitely means something when you're talking about being as great as a Pete Sampras. Okay, people, this is the Magic Man, tennis preacher, prophet, signing off. Have a nice day.